impatient pricks.
Hey, this is wicked complicated.
Go
Nice.
ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, this is wicked complicated. I mean, this is wicked Spursy, Mike, Stephen, Dave. Boys, always a pleasure to see you. We survived the life-changing event, otherwise known as an eclipse. And so I'm glad to see both of you. Your faces are intact. Nothing melted. Your eyeballs appear to not have retinal burning having occurred. You're making good eye contact with me. Life is good. We're in good shape. Steve, how you doing, buddy? What's going on?
I'm thriving, dude. It's
Nice.
my
Thrive.
last week on this job, starting a new one next week.
That quick of a turnaround? Just like
Yeah,
done Friday, start Monday type of thing?
yeah.
All
I'm
right,
also going
good.
to continue contracting out with my current job, so that
Even
was
better.
fun. I had to start my own consulting business just for this.
Always good to be paid by two companies instead of one, right?
Absolutely. I have no
Good thing.
idea what I'm doing when it comes to running a business, but hey, that's why they have small business accountants. I'll just get one of them to tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Donald Trump didn't know what he was doing either. He just got a bunch of money from his dad and said, "Okay, let's do this." And now he's a fake billionaire.
Yeah, Steve, I was going to say there's people with 10% of your intelligence and moxie that are running businesses. So
Yeah,
I think
look at the Paul
attention to
brothers.
details, you'll be good to go. Look at the Paul brothers. Great example. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Good. Well, that's a nice little boost to the old confidence.
There you go.
Uh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. How about you, Mike? How's it going? What's going on?
My excitement for this day is only eclipsed by the the excitement I felt when I went down to my buddy Trey's lake house this weekend to spend the day with some good buddies and
Excuse me, Muffy.
watch some football.
Shall we go to Trey's lake house this weekend,
It's not
madame?
that kind of a no. It's not that
No.
kind of a lake house. It's not a stuffy lake house. It's a cool hip lake house where 40 somethings with brand new children get to go and and
The
40
the the
somethings with
last part
with
of
a
what you
with a
said, you can't use the first part. You know that, right? You can't say 40 somethings with brand new children and then say cool hip in the same descriptive
oh no, they're cool and
sequence,
hip
right?
still.
I'm cool. I'm hip.
They're yeah, they will be cool and hip until their children grow up and get old enough to tell them that they're not cool and hip. Or there's some life changing,
And
outside
that's
of
when you hit them with Huey Lewis, right?
it is hip to be square. Or in my case, it's hip to be round.
Nice. Very nice.
So I spent the weekend. I didn't spend the whole weekend. I watched Lucas play soccer on Friday night and Saturday. And Friday night, I forgot my, as you can see, my emotional support water bottle that I bring, my Yeti water bottle, that I bring to every one of his games. I forgot to bring it. Kid didn't score. Had a rough game.
Damn.
So
Yep.
that's what it is, huh?
The next night, the next night, we go to the game. Kid's the anchor of the team and scores 3 goals on the full field. So yeah, so I think it's the emotional support water bottle, not necessarily his skill on the ball or his ever improving touch.
Man, I hope you never miss a game for this kid with that kind of pressure on the
Yeah,
stuff you bring along with you, huh?
yeah, no kidding, no kidding.
Yeah.
I'll have to just send it along with Amy. But I did get to go. I did get to go down on Sunday. Lily and I took a drive down to Lake Bomazine in Vermont, and we got to surprise Brian from Rhode Island, who was up with the whole Rhode Island crew to watch the eclipse from Lake Bomazine.
But didn't come up to visit us, huh? I
No,
gotta say, I'm disappointed in him.
well, I'm gonna tell you right now that I got there. He saw me. He goes, "Holy shit! I was just in the shower. He had just gotten out of the shower,
He was thinking about you in the
and
shower.
I was sitting there at the
That's what
table.
I'm getting from
I
this.
was
That's,
sitting.
that's
I
what
was
I'm
sitting at
thinking.
the
Yeah.
table eating breakfast, and he walks by, and then he looks at me. He goes, "Hey," and then he goes, "Whoa!" He had been in the shower, and he was thinking about me. He was. He was actually going to drive up to McKee's.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, and his
that would
wife
have
was
been
like,
fun.
that's a really long trip. She was trying to convince him because she knew I was coming. So I was like,
Would have been hilarious if he showed up to McKee's and hung out
Yeah,
with me and
right.
Jason.
I
As
know
Mike
that would have been super hilarious. Like we just kind of cross paths on 22A. awesome. But yeah, I got to spend the day with them. We had some good food, a bunch of laughs. We had an outdoor fire during the day, which was actually kind of cool. It's a beautiful day on the lake. Got to see some eagles. Got to see a muskrat. That was kind of neat.
See a muskrat. Very good.
They called it an otter. City people. It was likely a muskrat.
All
I'm just
right.
impressed you got to see the Philadelphia Eagles. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, Jason Kelsey was like right on it.
Hey, did you see the clips from WrestleMania of Kelsey and that Lane Thomas guy with the
No,
luchador masks on doing their thing? It was pretty
I
cool.
got
Actually.
home. I got home. I wanted to watch because it's day 2 of WrestleMania.
That occurred on day 1, though. That
Oh,
occurred
that was
like
on day
Saturday
1.
night. Yeah,
Oh,
give it
okay.
a look. It was pretty cool clips that I saw.
I wanted to watch a little bit, and I got home, and I was just like wrecked from the driving and all that stuff. So
Understood.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's
Mike,
it's a
not
rough
to
drive from the Rutland area to Burlington. Just really tough.
really is.
Just a long ride, Michael.
it was 2 hours.
I know, that's so sad. I'm sorry.
That's 4 hours of driving.
I know. It's tough, man.
You know, not to eclipse your weekend, but we did have a very fun game that happened.
We did. Don't want to cast a shadow on any of the things we're talking about, but why don't you jump into it, Steve? Let's talk about the football.
I can't trust you guys to just.
Well, yeah. So a game happened, and it was one of those where the second half like just makes you feel good and forget all about how dysfunctional the first half was.
Right. You end up like looking at it in totality as opposed to like breaking it up into segments, right?
Well, especially when you've got such incredible goals. I mean, the sun was shining on so many of these players. Man, it was a good second half. I will say that. The first half was not great.
I disliked it a great deal.
I mean, it was nice to score first for a change, but everything after that until the halftime whistle was just painful. It's this. I feel like I've said the same thing on repeat. Lacked urgency, disjointed. Things weren't coming off. People were making passes in lanes that nobody was running into. It just wasn't working for me. And what was particularly amusing was, in our WhatsApp chat, I was chatting and just, calling out Basuma because I really thought he had a stinker for the most part, especially with his abysmal long range shooting. And then I made this comment like, yeah, he and Sarr just look like way out of place. And guess who gets subbed off at halftime? Basuma and Sarr.
Yeah. Didn't see it coming at halftime, but
I wasn't expecting a halftime change, but like that is exactly what I would have done. And it was night and day,
All right, knock it the fuck off.
Mike, how about you shed a little light on this thing for us?
Jesus Christ. Why won't it stop?
Hey, life changing, man. It's gonna linger with us for a little while.
I just don't think you understand the gravity of the situation.
Yeah. Word.
Okay, thank you.
Mike,
anyway, so okay, I didn't see it quite as bad as you guys did. Like I think
gloom.
I really think that the comments pregame that Ange made about how I don't tell them to not shoot. I don't tell them to not shoot from long range. Made them come out and shoot from long range. Basuma tried some things. I felt like he was moving well without the ball. I think he found himself in some good positions. I think that he is gaining a little bit more confidence, and I think it showed in his game. I think he was trying a lot more stuff. I don't think he was as prone to mistakes as his previous games. I
agree with that, Mike. I agree with that statement.
Sure. Yeah, I think but he as much as he was trying to be a little more careful, I think he was also trying some things. He was trying to shoot from long range. He was trying to make a difference when Nottingham played Nuno ball and backed up into the box like a bunch of goddamn babies. Um, you know,
Are babies known for backing up into the box?
yeah, sure.
Like, we're not going to come out any further. We're staying back here.
Yeah, somewhere that they feel is safe,
So
you
my
know.
question for you on that, though, if you don't mind, because I don't disagree that Basuma in particular looked a little more comfortable and looked like he was trying some things, and it wasn't the worst performance he's had. But why do you think Ange subbed him out at half? You know, we've talked before. It's not common for Ange to sub at half unless he wants the system changed. Why do you think that happened?
I think that's exactly what he saw. It was like what that I don't think it was particularly because he was particularly bad. I think it was because I honestly thought Sara was worse than Basuma. Um, Nothing Sar did worked. He every time that the ball came to his feet, he had a really tough, really rough touch. His passes were lazy. His decision making was uninspired to me. And it just didn't. Nothing seemed to be working. I don't think it had to do with the fact that you know Basuma was terrible or Sar was as terrible as I'm saying because I don't know shit from Shinola, but I can say that he probably and is smarter is a smarter football guy than the three of us combined, and I'm sure he saw something that led him to say, okay, this if we change this, this can happen. And when managers make those type of changes at halftime, sometimes they work and sometimes it's like, well, fuck, that didn't work. It that kind of stuff happens. And it kind of worked. I thought Bendinger was good. I didn't think he was fantastic. He had good stretches where he was good, but I think that the way that the ball moved in the first half versus the way that the ball moved in the second half, Hoiberg still made at least one or two stupid fucking errors like he always does every game. But he was mostly solid because he doesn't take chances. He's not a chance taker usually. And when he does take chances, he makes serious errors, and he almost did it again. So I honestly think that with this game, there's some positives to be taken out of it, and we don't have to sit here and get on Basuma. We don't have to get on Sar for their performances. We don't
This
have to get on
time.
we don't have to get on Son. Like I thought Son was not great at all. And for some reason they gave him like man of the match or something, I heard.
No, Mickey got man of the match.
I wonder where Brian from Rhode Island was getting that from when he told me that information. Um
I don't know, same place he was thinking about you, maybe.
in the shower.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. So
uh,
I didn't think Son was particularly great.
I
Again,
thought our
like
whole back line sucked the whole first half. Agree or
I thought
disagree?
Doggy was he looked a little
Yeah.
lost.
But
Um,
Van de Ven and Romero botched things up. Like, they should have scored 2 or 3 goals on us if it
I
weren't for the post and if it weren't for
Yeah,
Vic
oh yeah,
making
yeah.
some decent saves.
No,
Like,
I don't disagree. I
they
think I think
sucked.
Pedro Porro was pretty good. I think he was actually really good. I think he was very effective passing. I think he was very effective drawing the defense to his side. Um, you know, as was I think Timo. Fucking buy that guy. Just buy him now. Just say, hey, we're gonna pay it.
My Mike, I still remember when the Timo talk started. You're like, what are we doing? And every one of us is like, dude, it's a no risk option. Let's take it. You
It
finally
wasn't
came
me.
around, but
It
I'm
wasn't
glad
me.
it wasn't you. That was Mike
Nope.
Popovich too. It must have been.
No, it was it
It was
was
Techno
it,
Mike.
it was
Yeah,
Nicky Winks. He wanted Harry Winks back instead of Timo. It wasn't me.
dude, I'm gonna have
Well,
to
I
go back.
mean
I'm
that
gonna have to go
that
back
I
and
does
did
kind
watch
of
no, I
that.
make
did compl I
sense.
did complain about his finishing, man. That's and is
What
that
are we
it?
doing?
We
Is
know
that
how
is
Mike feel,
that
not Mike. We know how Nick feels about the Germans.
yeah.
A little bit of a grudge there.
Just a bit.
No, but
That's
yeah. So
that's
for me,
terrible.
I mean that for that first half, for me personally, I think the change was twofold, right? The midfield substitutions. both Basuma and Sar, yeah, they were trying things, but their trying things mostly involved carrying and dribbling. Whereas a lot of what I felt like we needed was crisper passing and opening things up a little bit more, not trying
Mhm.
to bring Nottingham together, which some of these runs through the middle, especially when you've got somebody look like a Dogie tucking in there on the left, it just makes things very congested. It's easy to pick apart, um,
Which is
especially
why
when
we
it
got beat
doesn't
by
come off.
Fulham. Which is why we got beat by Fulham.
Right.
Because
And so
Fulham
this,
recognized that they're going to play like that mid block and just
yeah,
pick off passes in the midfield.
and so this swap, like you're absolutely right. Højbjerg is much less a risk taker, and as a result, I mean, he had like some insane statistics for tackles or whatever it was in that game in just the 45-minute period. I mean, that was unreal. Just how well he had done. He did have that boneheaded mistake, like 10 minutes to go, but by and large, it was what we needed. It enabled Bentancur to, pick out some good passes, to make some carries. He's a little bit more multi-dimensional than I think either Basuma or Sar were on the day. But yeah, the other
I
piece
still don't
for
like him in that position, but fair enough.
yeah, the other piece for me, because I agree with you on Sun too. He's just for some reason he just doesn't want to take these shots. I don't quite understand it. He gets into some good positions, and then it's just like he's taking an extra touch, or he's trying to
Yeah.
set himself a little bit more, and it just
Yeah, he's
doesn't
looking for
work.
perfection instead of just taking the shot, right?
Meanwhile, he passes the ball off to Mickey, and he's like, "Let me show you how it's done." And
That was a
what a finish!
beautiful, beautiful shot.
It was a it was
Oh,
a it was a it was a it was a funky pass
Yeah.
because he took another bad touch.
mhm.
And he had to figure out a way to get the ball off to Mickey, who
Mm-hmm.
Literally was like,
dude,
"This is how it's done."
yeah, yeah. It was like a pinball shot, like one of those, like, you pull the plunger back and just let it go. You pull that plunger back as far as you can, just let it go. It was like a
Well, the
laser.
ones where the goalkeeper doesn't even move, like
He
like
didn't
not even a
move.
muscle.
Yeah.
It's that fast. Yeah.
I've heard people talking, like people who were at the stadium talking about how it was like, oh man, he's gonna have a shot at it, and then it's like
It's in
by
the
the
net.
time it comes out of their mouth, it's already in the back of the net.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'll just speaking from the pub experience. It was kind of fun, just like sitting there with the Vermont Spurs crew. It's like, son, just shoot the ball. And by the time we finished, like going after Son for not taking that shot, he had passed to Mickey and Mickey had scored, and we didn't even have time to recognize that there was another player in the attack.
Mike, if
It
he was there,
just
would have said, "You better recognize," right, Mike?
better
You better
recognize.
You
recognize.
better
I have
recognize.
a question for the two of you because I'm curious. The that header assist for
From
Pedro
Bentancur.
Porro, was it intentional or not?
I think it was unintentional, but man, it was pretty. It was really, really pretty. But I think it was unintentional. What do you think, Mike?
Was it Bentancur?
Yeah, it was
Yeah, I think
Bentancur, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Bentancur.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, it looked intentional to me. It looked like he
See,
was heading it straight down.
I've
Steve, break
seen
the tie. What
people
do you think?
I've seen people arguing both, and I've watched that goal a number of times, and I I honestly have no idea. If he told me that it was intentional, I would believe it. Even if it was unintentional and he's just, lying out his ass to get the assist and not look like he, fucked up a header. But man, like that was, if it was intentional, incredible. If it was unintentional, then shit, great job making something out of nothing, Pedro.
Hey, look. The guy's had a rough go of it, right? He's had some injuries. He's had some tough times coming back. Give him the benefit of the doubt, Steve.
You know what, Mike? That is a very compelling argument. I will give him the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you.
Don't
Thank you.
say I've never been nice to our players. No,
Just
but
to
even Pedro Porro's that shot is not an easy one to take.
no, and it was
And
lovely.
credit where it's due. Like this is a guy, yeah, we've seen it throughout the season where he just tries these like really elaborate, really ambitious shots, volleys, whatever, and they don't always come off. In fact, more often than not, they don't. but every once in a while, holy shit, like that is beautiful, beautiful. And you gotta love the celebrations after too. It just shows how much it means to these guys. Like Pedro pulling on the cockerel there on his shirt, just showing everybody what it means to him. Like that's exactly what you want to see in your team. And I'm so glad that we've got players who have that sort of energy and raw emotion right now.
Who after yeah, they love to pull the cock after a goal. It's one of those things.
Back to Mike and Brian shower thoughts, right?
I wasn't in the shower. I'm wondering what the shower was like. It was probably
Now,
nice.
I've got to ask because this has been bothering me this whole time ever since we've started on this topic. When he ran into you eating breakfast downstairs, was he dressed or did he moon you?
No, it wasn't a full moon. Um, but it was a partial moon. He had I believe he was wearing sweatpants and some sort of North Face vest.
North Face vest with
He
sweatpants.
was, yeah.
Steve Michael missed that one. Just want to let you know that
No, no,
pitch
no,
did
no,
not get hit.
no. It did. I said it wasn't a full moon,
You
Gosh,
miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
that's
or
true.
don't understand.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
I actually have that in my office right on the wall over there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a framed picture. My kids got that for me for
I
Christmas.
like,
one
I
year.
like. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. That's my favorite.
Also a good one. Yep.
That's a Mike
Also a good
Tyson.
one. Hey, you know what I like?
What do you
Uh,
like, Dave?
I like asking special questions to special people.
he's a special
Really?
boy, Mike.
Mike is our resident special boy. Um, I'm really curious. I
You
would
know
like to
what?
know.
I
Yes,
wouldn't say
Steve.
special boy. I wouldn't
What?
say special boy. I would say he is a star.
Ooh.
A bright, shining star to
A
be
star that
eclipsed
you
by
can
no one.
so bright that you can see it during the daytime, right?
Absolutely.
Nice. I like the way you're thinking. Mike, by the way, is that a picture of a moon back behind you?
No, it is not. It's a cock on a ball.
It's a cock on a ball. See, just it looks like the sunset and the moon. I just, thought we were
You
going
see, this is
thematic
one
here.
of those things that works much better for the two people who are watching us live than for anybody who's going to be listening to this because they're going to hear it's just a
They
cock on a
they
ball.
will. I just want you to know that we did have some comments, and the comments will be accepted, and I will think about changing some things. I had some comments about the live stream, like
Like
timestamps,
what kind of comments?
timestamps, so they can
Meaning,
Timestamps. Just watch
meaning
the fucking
meaning
video.
no timestamps meaning like um timestamps for when we change our discussion topics, so that they can get through, hey Mike, what you drinking, and get back to the fucking football.
oh snap, that's harsh, man. I
No,
thought you were saying they were going to skip.
they didn't actually say that. That's just my
No,
assessment.
All right. So you're going to put in timestamps like Dave said something really stupid at 42 minutes,
Yeah.
37 seconds. You can do that.
Yeah. At 13:45, I'll put cock talk.
There
Hot
you
Talk.
go.
Perfect. You see, that's the sort of
Relentless cock talk.
obscure, that's the obscure timestamping we need.
That's exactly right.
You know, if you don't want to sit here and listen to the whole show, balls and all, then, what are you even doing
Then
here?
you're going to get some weird descriptions. That's what we got for you.
Yep.
So speaking of that, Michael, and I don't know what our current timestamp is, but at this particular timestamp, I think I would love for you to put,
About
"Hey Mike, what you
36
drinking?"
26 minutes.
At
Oh,
26 minutes. Hey Mike, what
20,
you drinking?
you know what? Today would
What,
have been a perfect day to have a Corona.
Mike? Is that your shirt? Is that a sun over two mountains?
It sure is.
Huh, what?
It's a Green
Wow.
Empire Brewing shirt.
But let's go back to your Corona comment there because I
It could be
did
a
hear
moon.
it.
It could be a moon.
I did hear it, and I inadvertently detracted from it. So why don't you start over? Today would be a great day to what, Mike?
Possibly have a Corona. Actually, Amy
Good
had
one.
one during the eclipse, and she said, "This is disgusting."
Was it a Corona Light or a
It
Corona
was a
lack of
Corona Light
light?
because I bought a 12 pack of Corona Lights accidentally a few months ago, and then they've just been kind of languishing and
Good old donkey piss.
Good old donkey piss. It, where that's made, it's called a burro.
I was gonna jump to Corona's defense, but as soon as you said light, it's like, all right, you got it. Yeah,
You got it.
that's not
No,
great.
a Corona is it's good at at certain times. But
It
for
is
this
a beer
time
for
of year,
tacos.
Oh, we got another one. Look at that, Steve.
Absolutely.
so what I've got today, Concord Brewing Company, right back to Concord Brewing, Concord Craft Brewing, sorry. It is the time of year um for the Frog Run. You know what the Frog Run is, boys?
I do. Well, I know what it is in like local context here.
Right. Right, yeah. So the Frog Run is the final running of the sap. It's like when the peepers come out, when the frogs come out in the spring, and you get that final run of maple sap. Um it's it's that last it kind of makes it has more sugar content
But why do they call it the frog run?
because that's when the peepers come out, the frogs come out. You start hearing the frogs at night, right?
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you a quick story related to that, Mike?
Does it
Frogs.
have to do with lambs on a farm?
Well, no, it has to do with farms
I hope you're
and
not making
frogs.
I hope you're not making some terrible comments about
No, this is actually not an
neighbors to the
equinox.
north. No. Okay.
No, not at all. Not at all. My former job when I used to work in school administration, one of the towns that I worked in was Shrewsbury, which is a mountain town, just outside of Rutland, right, Mike?
I
And
know Shrewsbury well.
and nice little town. It's one of those places you don't end up in by accident. Like you have to intend to get there because it's basically at the top of a mountain. I would go up there for board meetings, and this time of year, oftentimes you go up for a board meeting. It's maybe been a decent day weather-wise, but there'd be like a little rainstorm or something like that. And I'll tell you what, driving down that mountain, and there are some stretches where you can fly, driving down that mountain on wet roads at night with the lights on, the frogs would be like something from the apocalypse, man. Like I am not being dramatic. The road would be swarming with frogs scampering
Hmm.
across it in
Fucking
your
ancient
high
Egypt
beams.
all over
It was
again.
insane, man. It made you feel like you're gonna
Biblical.
drive off the road. Biblical proportions on these roads, all during frog season.
Yeah, so we get the peeper frogs and the cicadas in the spring, right?
Yeah.
And they just are so like they're so loud you can hear them like at night. Like my daughter sometimes can't sleep in the springtime. They're so loud. So that's that time of it's that time of year. So
Yeah, and are we
this
getting like a
is
double dose of cicada this year? I believe I've read or heard. Does that
oh
sound?
Christ, that would suck.
I think it's a
They're,
double dose. Yeah.
they're so loud. So what I have today, boys, I have Concord Craft Brewing's Lager. It's a maple Marzen.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's 5.8 alcohol. The Marzen is typically what we know is like the Oktoberfest style beers. Um, but I figured this is the time of year where we have to go after a maple beer.
Either of you
It's
watch
funny you
the
mentioned that.
go ahead, Steve.
It's funny you mentioned that because when we were watching at McKee's, they offered up some seasonal beers on draft, of which Jason and I both ordered. And we were kind of, or at least I shouldn't speak for him. I was shocked to learn that the seasonal on draft was a summer seasonal. And that just didn't feel right to me.
No, that
Do you
I
have a
was
is
glad to have
Sam
it.
Summer Ale?
Sam
I
Summer
did
Ale.
get the Sam Summer
That's what it
Ale.
was. Yeah, that's a
That's
cop out right there.
that's like throw up in a glass.
I think it's good.
Oh, it's so refreshing and yeah. All right,
It
whatever.
certainly helps when you're stress drinking to Spurs.
Were either of you guys watching the NCAA men's Purdue NC State game over the weekend when they referred to that big guy Zach Edey as Big Maple? I
Big Maple.
found myself cracking up. Big Maple.
Anyway, so you've got maple syrup in a beer glass or something.
Yeah,
It
it's
actually kind of looks like maple syrup.
so Marzens are like fuller bodied. They're usually amber in looks. Um, they are, like I said, fuller bodied, so they're going to be a little bit maltier, a little bit heavier on the sweetness. But they're going to be crisp. They're going to be clean drinking beers. They're going to have a lot of CO2 involvement. They're going to be fizzy, because they're lagered beers. So this is brewed with maple, typically adding sugar, because they're adding maple syrup. They're not adding sap, so they're adding sugar to the brew. You would typically bring up your alcohol um, numbers up above 6%, but this stays at about 5.8, it says, which is great. So this is one of those hibernation beers, you know, when you're coming out of a full winter hibernation. I think this beer is gonna, it smells great already. My only thing is that here we have another instance of New Hampshire slash Maine slash Massachusetts trying to steal the maple thunder out from the people who really know how to do it. The Vermonters, Dave. The Vermonters. Before you got to say Canada.
I'm just intrigued by your claiming that only the state we live in knows how to make maple syrup.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we make the best.
Oh, I got you. I missed that part.
Our trees are
I
better.
would be inclined to agree with Mike on this one. New
If you've
Hampshire
ever
maple
had
syrup can suck it. In Canada, I know you got the big maple
you know
leaf in
how
your
we feel
flag and
about the
everything,
Big
Canadians.
but
maple.
So I'm
it's
gonna
just
go ahead and drink this.
overcompensating. That's all I gotta say about that. I'm still bitter about French, by the way. I'm on day 80 of trying to learn French, and it just makes me spiteful. That language, I hate it. It must be the same way
You're gonna
that,
need it if you want all your coaching badges.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Um, but it's one of those things, right? Like I'm sure I hate French the way most people hate English when they try to learn it, because it's a lot of the same bullshit. Like things that sound exactly the same are actually different. And like trying to understand contextually what you're supposed to pick doesn't always work. And that just so I feel for any second language speaker who's trying to learn English, but right now I'm picking on the French because that's what I'm dealing with and I hate it.
We only love their French fries and gravy. So Dave, is Dave frozen? No, he's not. He just taking it all in. I
Dave,
think just taking it all in.
you know what it is?
I
He is
like the
like
French, honestly. I think
he's
they're nice people.
sculpted. That's how I would describe Dave, like a piece of marble.
Nice.
You know,
Nice.
Michelangelo's David right there.
So opaque I could block the sun, right? Mike, I used opaque two podcasts in a row just for you.
Yeah.
So what do you got with this beer, man? You've been a little quiet. I haven't seen like an overwhelming reaction.
I'm just letting Steve run his mouth through my segment. That's all.
Just let him play out. Oh, it's his segment. Did you catch that, Steve? Mike
His
like
segment.
claims ownership of Hey Mike.
This is our segment.
We're the ones that asked the question.
It's
He just
named
responds,
after
right?
me. It's named after me.
This is but this is
all right. Well, from now on,
this
it's Hey
is
Bastard. What you
communist
drinking?
Spursy.
Hey, you son of a bitch. This beer is really fucking good.
Ooh.
All right.
Yeah.
RFG. Let's see.
Yeah, RFG. It's like lightly sweet. You can taste the maple in it. It's inferior maple. You can taste it though.
So I'm gonna dock him 0.1 at least on the score for inferior maple.
Inferior maple. That's a joke. Just like their maple is in New Hampshire. I set myself up and knocked it out of the park. So the beer is a typical Marzen. Like I said, it's crisp, it's clean, it's a hint of sweetness, a little bit of maltiness. I really enjoy this beer, and I would like to have more. However, I don't think I'm going to find myself in Concord again for a while. So, Concord Craft Brewing. When Dave tags you, if you could send some more of this up my way, that'd be great. I really enjoy this. It's a perfect beer for this time of year.
Concord Craft Brewing,
Concord.
please send beer to Mike because he's not going to waste his time coming to you. That's what I heard, Steve. Is that what you heard?
Look, if they can't be bothered to import superior maple syrup from Vermont for their beer, I mean, the least they could do is at least ship it so that we can enjoy it where we are in the vastly maple superior state.
It's not their fault that they're upside down. It really isn't. So going
Give us a
along
rating.
with,
Give us a rating.
yeah. I'm going to give this a 3.8.
Oh, damn it.
Very close, Steve. I went high. Steve was at 3.9. I went 4.2. You led me to believe you're getting up into the fours, and I thought this was going to be an even week. So that was how I.
It was
It's
an
a really
even
fucking good
week.
beer.
It was even, but yeah, just a bit overshot.
Yeah.
Damn it. So
Oh,
close.
look at my beer glass.
Oh,
Hey,
did you pick
That's a
that
lunar.
for a
like
reason
the
or no?
It's a lunar
lunar
eclipse.
stages. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is. How about a song, Michael? What do you got,
Bonnie Tyler, Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Steve?
Son of a bitch.
Steve, Mike, I'll have you know at 6:35 p.m., 4 minutes after we start recording, this is what I sent to Steve. Guarantee Mike uses Total Eclipse of the Heart for the beer song. You have been outed, bro. It's all obvious how this works. So
You see,
just
I
calling it out.
went with Pink Floyd Eclipse, but
Yep. Mike, that required a couple extra layers of thought. Mike was taking the easy one tonight. Mike busted, dude.
Dude, I gotta tell you, that eclipse was way, way fucking cooler than I thought it was going to be.
it was cool.
It was so goddamn cool.
There's just something about
Sitting
staring
out there,
directly at the
in
sun.
my front lawn in my driveway, watching this whole thing just happen. My truck blanket wrapped around me. It's just it was really, really cool, and I'm still invigorated.
I stood
Oh,
out in my
nice.
backyard so I didn't have to deal with any of my neighbors who were sitting out on their front lawns.
Yeah, well, it's not your fault that you have racist neighbors, so you don't
Fair.
have to deal with.
Hey, you guys ready to pivot on to some other topics?
Yeah, well, what do we got coming up?
Another beer that's made with honey, or
What's
this
that?
with
Pollinator. There you
not
go.
maple syrup, but honey. Yeah.
Another
like
beer that's
it.
made with honey. Another beer made with a sugar product, right? Hey,
Except this
I
one
got
is
something
pea vomit.
I got something I want to talk about, boys. And I know I'm going to show my opinions through the course of talking about this, and I'm curious to hear yours. And you don't have to align with the way I see things. Just want to make that super, super clear. But let's start out by asking you a question. So the question I want to ask is, how would you respond if I were to tell you that there is a movement afoot that is of the belief that the powers that be, the authorities that make decisions, are evil and crooked and only interested in their own self-interest and agendas, and that what is necessary is a returning to traditional values and treating groups of people who have had a degree of self-importance, whether perceived or real, could be debated, treating them particular ways while paying less attention to those who don't fit into the groups of people who've been treated certain ways historically. And the only way to handle this is to protest, to throw a hissy fit, to call the powers that be evil, and to try to get everything to change back to the way it was. How would you feel if I told you that that was afoot in our world today?
Sounds like my union negotiations.
That's an interesting take. All right. All right.
I mean, um, yeah. It sounds a little Bernie Sanders-esque what you're getting at.
He just
I mean,
emailed me.
It really does. Did he? Good.
Well, I mean, his
about
office
your new
did.
company.
What are
About
you,
your
the
new
guy that
company?
set fire to his office building?
No, but it was an update about the fire.
Was it really? He sent you an
Yeah.
update. Nice. Nice.
Typically corporations have their own self-interest at in the forefront, just being that they like to pay their upper management people some extra money, even if they're not doing the job that they're you know hired to do. Um, I think I know where you're going with this, Dave. And I don't think that people are going to like my take on it. But if you're not going that way, that direction, we'll soon find out. So, I
All
mean,
right, fair enough.
I
Fair enough.
I I live and work on one side of the fence that should agree with with the folks that seem a little whiny. But on the other hand, I have in this particular situation, I have other thoughts that
All right,
people
all
are
right.
not going to like, and we may lose some listeners. So
Oh well,
if
then we
Dave is
probably
trying to
should.
end the podcast,
We,
this might happen
we
tonight.
probably shouldn't say anything then, right? If we
Well,
might
no,
offend someone.
I think it's up to everybody to present their opinions
Fair,
on
fair.
matters, and
And
especially from an international standpoint.
so, all right. So, Steve, I want to go further with my painting of the picture here by telling you what I'm talking about, but I also want to get any reaction you have to my opening statement before I do so. Anything at all? And if no, that's
Is
cool
this
too.
about those damn boomers complaining about how they don't get their very special treatment?
Uh, Maybe sort of, kind of. Yeah. So here's what I want to talk about. I was out for a nice long walk on Saturday, and that's when I listened to podcasts. And I was listening to the Fighting Cock from last week, podcast that we know and love, and it was an episode where Flav was hosting the two individuals, and I'm not gonna like use names or even refer to them individually because I don't want to come across as favoring one of them over the other, but was talking to two individuals that used to be with the Supporters Trust and are now um, leaders within the Save Our Seniors movement as it relates to Spurs. And I found myself as this conversation started wanting to learn more about the topic, wanting to understand what the issues are, and candidly wanting to. My hope was that I would sympathize with the movement when it was all said and done. What I found was by the time I was done with the podcast, I had some really mixed and frustrated opinions that I was feeling. So one comment I want to make is I thought Flab did a really nice job of trying to stay as objective as he could during the course of the conversation. There were times that he tried to keep it going and inject some of his perspective and try to be balanced. And I think it's at one point he realized he wasn't getting anywhere, and so he just kind of just kept it moving, so to speak. But I also found myself at one point, going back to my cheesy little prologue that I gave when we started. I found myself thinking like, okay, if I close my eyes and remove the English accents to this and listen to the words that I'm hearing, it was a flat out, straight up MAGA conservative argument that I was hearing, which is there's something we're entitled to. It's being taken away from us. People that don't have what we have, we're not worried about them not having it. We just want to make sure that you restore us to what we used to have. And I even heard language specifically around like the dissolution or the diminishment of the traditional fan. And as a non-traditional fan, I found myself really frustrated and really pissed off at that entitlement vibe kind of coming through. I was flabbergasted as these two folks were talking about the issue, the relentless banging on the table you could hear through the podcast, like
Yeah,
the entire freaking time, banging on the table, and really the lack of a cogent argument other than this is the way it's always been, and there's no reason why we could ever understand anything changing to that effect. Two other quick comments, and then I'll shut up and get out of your way. One comment is showing my own stupidity. An American sports fan, I was under the impression that when you're talking about concessions, to me, you're talking about like nachos and beer and hot dogs. I did learn that's not what these concessions refer to. They refer to discounted tickets, which I can understand that the club would concede the pricing of the tickets to specific groups that receive some special interest.
I
And
would
then
be I would be
go ahead.
particularly upset if it were a raise in hot dog prices
Let's all turn our backs on more
on
expensive
hot
hot
dog
dogs, right?
prices.
Yeah, valid. And finally, like I just found myself somewhat disenchanted and somewhat really frustrated. Like going back to the comments that you hear about tourist fans thinking about the growth of the Premier League, which is clearly the most well, maybe the most powerful league in the world, definitely the most competitive and difficult league in the world, certainly not filled only with English citizens in terms of its players, and clearly a global brand when it comes to how these clubs like Spurs make revenue and actually, pay to do the things that they do above and beyond, what's going on at the turnstiles in a football match. So I just found myself really, really frustrated and disappointed in the way that I heard these arguments being made. I'm curious. I won't judge anything you guys have to say about it, but I'm curious what you think about it, and what you think about what I just shared, whether it's foolish, spot on, whatever it might be. Any thoughts?
Oh, I've got thoughts, Dave. I've
All
got
right, let's
lots of
hear them.
thoughts.
Let's hear them.
And honestly, the word that comes to mind is just entitlement, right? Like this same group of people wouldn't bat an eye if it was towards, under 18, if there was a child discount, right? If that got taken away, none of them would care, right? Because it doesn't impact them. It's one of those things that they're getting all gung-ho about because it has some sort of an impact to them. They had this benefit and it is no longer there. And to that base level, I can empathize with that. You were getting something, you were paying less for it, and now you have to pay a little bit more. That sucks. I get that. But at the same time, it really is entitled behavior because there are so many other ticket related issues that probably need to be addressed for the longevity of the local fans, not even talking about us internationals, non-traditional fans, that just senior discount like just doesn't, it's like a drop in the bucket. Like what does it matter? There's so many other things that the club could be putting their effort to address for the average working person in and around Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that just trying to cater to this small subsection of fans who feel like they deserve something more simply because of their longevity on this planet. It just, it's, I hear me. I want. Like that isn't coming together as a fan group. That isn't coming together with a singular purpose. That is carving yourselves out as a subsection, trying to get special treatment for something when everybody else in the collective fandom is suffering for similar reasons, right? Like that's the thing that I think really bothers me. I have seen complaints about, whether or not we agree with this, I have seen complaints from the local fans that the ticket pricing going up is unfair, that it's pricing out the working class, all of this stuff, which to me bears much more empathy because, yeah, I get it. If you live right next to the stadium, you've been going ever since you were a kid, and it's just getting more and more expensive, and all of a sudden you can't really cope with that. I can feel that much more than just, well, you know what? Every once in a while I like to go and I like to, pay a little less when I do. I don't know, man. Like it's one of those things where the fans should be working towards a collective bargain. That one's for you, Mike.
Thank you, buddy.
To
Well
try to
done. Well
get
done.
I heard that. Yeah.
yeah, to try to get something that benefits all fans attending games at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium instead of putting in undue effort towards I've got to imagine it is a small minority group of fans, considering, they had this protest during the game, and I completely forgot that they were doing it. Nobody mentioned it on the broadcast. There
Oh, you
was
mean it was
nothing.
not impactful? Is that what you're
No,
suggesting,
it
Steve?
wasn't impactful.
It was suggested that there were tens and tens of thousands of people who
Well,
had turned their backs.
out of 60,000, that's
tens of
a
people.
portion.
There are dozens of us, dozens. But no, it's just, it's one of those things like, yeah, it sucks to be you, but there's bigger problems, and this argument, well, that's the way it always used to be, is such a bullshit argument to not change things.
I agree with that.
For better or worse, I hate that argument. If you have a legitimate reason why you believe that a senior discount is warranted, argue that. But to just say, we always used to get this and now we don't, fuck you. Like everybody is being put out. That's just the state of the world. If I, as an American, want to go and watch a game, I'm spending up the ass already for it. I mean, we do get a discount through the supporters club, but that's about it, right?
Yeah. You're not
Again,
Gary. The one of the things they should address if they want to address that is it, even with their domestic supporters clubs. Um, and I have a little bit of knowledge on this stuff. Is that they need to address people who are in the supporters clubs being able to sit with their significant others, with their families when they get these supporter clubs tickets. Um, but again, like a lot of it is non-traditional fans coming from outside the UK, but it's even happening within the UK. It's happening within Ireland, in numbers of clubs in Ireland, supporters groups, that kind of stuff. Those are the things that they should be addressing things with the match day fans,
but you know
people who
what?
are coming in who are coming in and spending money to make this club bigger. And I'm sure at some point the blame is going to be placed on us for these things happening.
I'm sure it probably is already. But you know what I say to that? I say, look, it sucks that the tradition that you might have had as a child growing up, you can't continue that. Make a new tradition. Like I've got young son myself. If all of a sudden, I got priced out of going to fucking Vermont Green games and we couldn't do that anymore, I'm sure I would find some other way to like
We
get
keep winning
excited
US
for
Open
it.
Cup games, and that's going to happen, Steve.
It's
But like,
a it's
that's
a
the
real
thing,
risk.
right? Like you can't do that one thing. Okay, be fucking creative. Do something else. Make your kids experience memorable on your own. Don't rely on some other organization that, to be frank, is in it for a profit, right? They're not a charity. They're not looking to give shit away because you like Tottenham Hotspur.
But
They're
Steve, that's a pervasive argument. Is we as the fans, and I'm not speaking for us as the fans. I'm talking about the local fans are owed something by the club, right? They owe it to us. We've been so loyal for so long. They owe it to us, and maybe we're just American idiots in that just doesn't compute, right? Like I have
yeah,
my favorite teams. You guys know my favorite teams, and they don't care one damn thing about me. And if my favorite baseball team, I'm wearing the jersey today. If the owner moves them out of town, I'm picking a new team, right? Like he doesn't owe me the right to
yeah.
have a say. By the way, one more thing on that. They spoke a lot on this podcast about the the fan advisory groups and the stuff that's been worked out that way. And what I find interesting about that is, we weren't consulted enough. That was kind of the argument I heard, is we weren't consulted enough. And I can tell you from having been in leadership, here's what happens when you consult with people about decisions. You can listen, you can empathize, you can hear, you can take all the facts into account, and eventually the decision makers still have to make a decision. And without fail, when you make a decision that isn't what somebody told you they wanted you to make, you get accused of not listening and not consulting,
They
right?
throw
Like,
a
so there's
tantrum. Yeah.
there's no way to make people that you consult with be happy unless you don't call it consultation. You call it tell me what to do. And I find that vibe to be interesting, just in the nature of what's going on with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Mike, I want
I
to hear
mean,
more from you. What else you think on this? What do you got?
So my thought, I'm gonna start off by saying, um, there are people out there who are suffering. There are seniors who are out there suffering. Um, and it's not because they can't go to a fucking soccer game,
oh,
you
there's
know.
any number of other reasons.
So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
there are seniors with food insecurity. There are
Yeah.
seniors out there suffering from insufficient heat and four walls, and there are seniors out there suffering for that kind of thing. Those are the people we should be lifting up. We shouldn't be lifting up these people who have been able, and I'm sorry, and people are gonna that's why my name is what it is today. You're not gonna like this, but because I wanted to get onto the subject of my final thoughts today. Um, the people who can afford £1,000+ a year of their salaries, and salaries in the UK are not what they are here in America. It's harder to make a living in the UK than it is in America. If you can afford $1,000 for a season ticket, you know, you're a lucky person. You're a lucky person. You have the money to be able to do that. You have the money to be able to go and have food at the stadium, have food before the game, have food after the game, have a couple of beers at the stadium. You're lucky. You are lucky people. So don't sit there and tell me that because you've been able to have this benefit for so many years that they want to up your price by, you know, 20, 18 to 20 pounds per game. And that's how the math worked out. I did it. Um, and in the next few years, that you're not going to be able to do that now. I'm sorry. Steve, and to your point earlier, I'm gonna correct you on one thing. They were actually able, the supporters trust under the leadership of these two folks, and they did do a lot of good things for the match going fans. They did a lot of great things. Um, One of the things they were able to do is secure the junior price concession and to secure the young adult price concession and actually raise the age of the young adult concession. So that's great. It doesn't benefit people like us. I'm not asking for any kind of a benefit. I'm not even asking for supporters group tickets to be cheaper. What I am asking for is to, when you're making these arguments and you're so goddamn angry about it, think of the people who are out there who can't get to the soccer games.
Mm-hmm.
Think of those people who are out there who cannot get food to eat. Think of the people that are being oppressed on a daily basis. You know, I understand that you've put your life and you put a lot of money into this club. How do you expect the club to grow? You
Because
know,
there's no more
do you
new
want
fans
to
available in
do
England,
you
right?
want to continue Tottenham Hotspur to be considered one of the fabled big six? And I think it's bullshit. Do you want Tottenham Hotspur to be able to get those players that will make them a successful soccer team, win those trophies? I'm a Boston Red Sox fan. We didn't win shit my entire fucking life, and I'm going to tell you right now. I after that podcast, I was also a little frustrated, but I also wanted to see if in my favorite American sports teams, they gave concessions to seniors, to juniors, to for season tickets.
What'd you find?
Boston Red Sox, no. Um, I know this because I didn't have to research it. I spoke to a gentleman who I had dealt with in the past for my season ticket packages when I used to get them back in when I was younger. Um, uh, Looked at the Washington Commanders. No, they do not. I looked at the Los Angeles Lakers. God fucking no. If you think
Absolutely
Jerry
not.
Buss was giving anybody a fucking discount, you're crazy. Uh, and Genie isn't either.
Yes,
You know
correct.
why?
Mike,
Because they have to pay LeBron.
you just
Um,
reminded me of something that the New York Giants ownership did.
Vermont Green. Do not give.
Nothing.
No, but you know what they do, and what Tottenham Hotspur continues to do is give seniors, give juniors, give young adults, match day discounts. Match day discounts. So they're still getting the discount, and I understand that that these folks think it's part of the ruse to get around the rules to
Right.
senior concessions. They're not doing it going forward. There's a lot of things in our lives that we don't like. Change is really, really hard. But if you want this club to continue making money, so they can continue putting money into the team, into the stadium, making everything bigger and bolder, and like, we're going to have to accept change. The cost of running life is higher than it used to be. The stakes are higher for everything in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I just want people to understand that there are seniors with real problems out there. And the real problem isn't spending an extra 300 to 400 pounds a year.
You
You
know,
know
Mike,
what? Take your discount and put it into people who have real food insecurity, have shelter insecurity, put it into something like that.
God
And,
forbid you have to miss one game. You only get to go to 18 instead of 19. But
Can I put
let's
something into
not and let's
perspective
not
for
talk
them?
and also let's not talk like Newcastle fans.
oh, interesting. So hey, can I jump on that and then
Let's
Steve coming to you
we're
for
bigger. We are
perspective?
bigger.
Go
Tottenham
ahead.
Hotspur fans, we are bigger than that.
Okay, so here's what I want to say. Just make a loose connection. One other thing that drove me crazy, and it just kind of landed on me again listening to this conversation. Um, when you talk about the owner and you use terms like greedy, selfish, and evil,
Yes.
out for his own interests, etc. When you talk that way, that's tiptoeing very close to a line that is really, really problematic. And I'm not saying that you can't say that about people who are greedy and evil, but there are issues with talking about the Spurs ownership the way they do. And I think it's really, really unfortunate that that comes from within, if you will, if we view the trust as being within or the longtime fans as being within. Like, I think that's really, really concerning and problematic. And I found myself thinking the other day, like, let's imagine a world where Levy does decide to sell or Enoch does decide to sell. Who are they going to sell to? What's the entity going to look like that buys Tottenham Hotspur? We all know it's going to be an entity that has bazillions of dollars and wants to make bazillions of dollars more. And I'd wager that that entity might potentially be less endearing to these longtime traditional fans than the Enoch ownership group is. And I think like don't think that there's some better version of this corporately owned football club that is in the business of making money. Don't think there's some better version of that out there that could be improved if just the right things happened or the chips fell the right way. That's just frustrating.
Love Wrexham all you want. Ryan Reynolds in, in it to make money.
Yeah, because what they pay $1 million for it.
He recognizes the good in people, and he recognizes the good in that town and where they were as a people. He recognizes that, and it's not to say that he's not a good person. I'm just saying he's in it to make money. I was speaking last week before our second Open Cup game. I was speaking to Matt Wolf um, and Patrick Inferna about this, and you know they don't necessarily see themselves moving into a world right now because they don't know the sustainability of the soccer world. They don't see themselves moving into a world where they're going to be a professional
Hmm.
team right now because of the fact that these guys are, a lot of these owners are coming in seeing that they can make money in soccer and not knowing how to do it.
Right, right.
Right. But
And
it's
losing
it's
the
all
integrity in
about
the
people.
process.
It's all about people. Yeah, it's all about people buying and buying and buying because they know they think they can make money in the soccer bubble right now, but it eventually will burst just like every other bubble does.
Yeah,
And
valid.
again, let's put things in perspective. I
I
know
don't
we're
want to.
we're passionate sports fans. I know we're passionate sports fans, and I know that a lot of the distractions that we need in life come from sports, come from entertainment, and we want to get the best out of it, but it doesn't always work that way.
Steve, Mike just said put in perspective. You had some thoughts you wanted to put it in perspective.
Yeah, and you can consider this my closing thought as well,
Ooh, nicely
just
done.
because it
Good
is
segue.
getting to be that time.
Yes, it is.
Um, do you guys remember, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, this is something that comes up quite regularly for me. Do you remember what the New York Giants tried to do for their Fan Appreciation Day a few years back?
No, no, what was it?
They, as part of their Fan Appreciation Day, offered season ticket holders one free medium Pepsi.
And
But,
a Pepsi of all things, right? Like that alone's
but
bad enough.
this is season ticket holders, not season tickets. So if you bought your family of four season tickets to New York Giants, you got one free medium Pepsi.
That's awesome.
So
That's
there are much worse ways that ownerships can mess with you as
that's
a
why
group.
Saquon left. Is that it?
That's got to be it. The
Well,
Pepsi
in,
was
in the defense of the Mara family, the guy's name was Wellington. I just
Wellington
first of
Mara.
all,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's a rich guy's name.
No question.
But in his defense, in September in New York City, or no, they're in New Jersey. Forget it. Well, still, the sun gets hot. The sun gets hot. That's all I'm
Yes, it
saying.
does.
And you
Yes, it
get
does.
parched, and you might need that medium Pepsi as a season ticket holder.
And unless something blocks the sun, and then it's not so high. Hey, Mike, before I come to your closing thought, I want to share
Yeah.
my own closing thought, which is um and by the way, for our listeners, Steve just had to bounce, so you've only got the two bearded wonders. Mike and Dave are the only guys left with you. But
You're looking good today.
just want to say to anybody listening, the conversation about the Save Our Seniors, all that stuff,
That
that
stays
was
between us.
well, that was no. I just want to
No,
say
it doesn't.
that was my idea to bring that up, and I dragged these guys into that conversation. So while we may have said some things that might not be well received by some, I'm the person that you can blame for that, not Steve or Mike. So I just want to make sure that that's clear and understood for anybody who's out there that thinks we're a bunch of yahoos. It's just me. It's not them. Mike, what do you got for closing thoughts?
Yeah, my closing thoughts are these. Yeah, I think I think that as an American fan, as again, quote unquote non-traditional fan, came into it younger, later in life. Wish I was younger, but it doesn't work out that way sometimes, and sometimes magic happens. Um, I think it's always good, and you're gonna hear the liberal in me coming out, but um, I think it's always good to have a conversation around things. And whether you agree with us or not, whether you agree with things that I say, um, and I say stupid shit on this podcast constantly, just remember that you have to have a conversation around things. You can't just be angry and being the loudest, angriest person in the room. It doesn't ever get you anywhere. I've learned that. I've learned that because I used to be that person. I sometimes still am, but I've learned that through um, working with the management at my hospital, and in negotiations. There are people who have, and I've made my mistakes there too, but there are people who think that is a good negotiating tactic. It's not. Um, yeah, sure, be outraged about stuff, but you have to have a conversation about it. And having the conversation sometimes means having a little bit, being a little bit more reserved than you want to be. And my opinions here on the show tonight were my opinions. Take them as you will, but they're my opinions. I do again just want people to remember that there are seniors out there again that, especially in the Northeast here, in the Midwest, in the Northern Midwest, that don't have heat, they don't have food. There are people who don't have homes. There are seniors that are struggling all around. And your season tickets, if you can't afford them, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but there are other people who need to be helped. And maybe you want to put your money toward that and put your anger toward those type of things rather than toward your football team who, like we just said, is in it for the money.
Mike, always the voice of reason. Well done, sir. Well done.
Thanks.
Hey, that's it. Good chat tonight. And I'm gonna say if Steve were here, he would say to us, coys, 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 and don't be an asshole, no matter the circumstances. How about you, Mike? What would you say?
Guys, the sun was really bright today. I'm
Until it wasn't.
glad. I'm glad you were able to survive it if you were in the path of totality. I'm glad you were able to survive it. Hopefully nobody's eyes got burned out. So if that were the case, then I'm happy that you've reported to me that you have been safe and continue
Nice.
to be safe.
And what with the one more thing that you took a roundabout path there, man.
Hey man, Dave, I gotta
Yeah.
keep you on your toes.
What would
Guys,
the one more thing be?